to Miss Martin Muses and a very fantastic day of discussing one of my favorite subjects on the planet. No, it's not Potato Revan, it's Ireland, but I love Potato Revan. It just occurred to me. Yes. So it's the month of March, and a lot of people associate it with St. Patrick, even though technically St. Patrick's Day is just one day, but that's all right. But especially here in America, it's everywhere. It's all in Walmart. You go and there's all leprechauns and shamrocks and green beads and earrings for sale. But so for that reason, I'm just going to have the whole month be some Irish stuff. And who better to have on than the man himself, the potato rather himself, all the way from the future and from the Emerald Island himself. It is none other than Potato Revan.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. So I'm so excited because these are stories from my childhood that I remember being very immersed in it, because as a little girl, I didn't know this, but every time we would have American friends or family come visit us, my parents would always make sure that we would go see these certain sites in Dublin, especially Kilmainham Jail. As a little girl, I didn't understand it, but as I got older, I'm like, oh, dang. And then I learned about some of the other history, and just recently, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the 1916 uprising and the Proclamation of Independence. Not a Declaration of Independence. I forget what the proper
proclamation. It's very complicated. The proclamation and declaration of the independence of the island of Ireland.
There we go.
Heron is its proper name.
Okay, well, there we go. So it was celebrating that, and there was a big thing in Cork City, a big display and a lot of art. So I do have some pictures of that. But for those of you that may not have heard about this, and I'm thinking it might be a good deal of my audience, I want us to walk through these years, and I specifically chose 1916 to 1923 because it was a
fun years.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, fun from a certain point of view. Yeah, all hell broke loose, but it did lead to Irish independence from a certain point of view. But that's what we're going to talk about, because we had the Easter Rising, which kicked it all off. Then we had the War for Independence, and then the Civil War. Yeah, so that's what we're going to walk through. So let's start with 1916. What was going on, Potato Revan, in 1916?
So up until 1913, let's say, the build up to World War I, there was no Irish Catholics allowed to be in the armed forces. You had to be a Protestant to join. And when they were there, and they're like, oh no, if you let the Irish join, like, you're going to train the people who don't like us, like, how to fight. So what happened was World War I happened, and a lot of the Fenians went over who had joined the Fenian movement, which was created at the end of the American Civil War by two Irish guys. Now, when they all went over, they got their training, they got taught how to command, how to lead, how to fight, how to hold your weapons, and they came back, and in 1916, they said, now it's the time, because they were watching kingdom after kingdom after kingdom fall. And some of them had even taken part in it, and they're like, look, we can form our own country. We can finally do this. The British Empire has its eyes turned away from us. There's actually a joke about this. It's like, lads, what? You know no one's watching us, right? Really? Yeah. Right, so grab your guns. So so they decide, now the 1916 Rising was actually a failure. Out and out. So what happened was they were meant to have a rising in Limerick, Galway, Cork, Waterford, I believe Kilkenny Town. They were also meant to go in Sligo, Donegal. What happened in Sligo was an absolute atrocity. They ended up slaughtering the family of the Duke of Sligo. And the heads of the rebellion disavowed that. But what happened is they called it off. They're like, nah, lads, we're not doing this.
Mhm.
But then they changed their mind and they're like, we're doing this. They only got like 1,200 people, all in all, maybe 1,700, to actually do the fighting. And they went into the GPO, which the bullets are actually still there today. And the post office has not changed since. Um, but they then went in, they got all of the Sinn Féin guys to go there, the Brotherhood. And the Brotherhood went in, they launched the battle, they came out onto the steps of the GPO. Patrick Pearse came out and read out the Poblog na HÉireann, which is the Irish Declaration of Independence. I'll call it that for simplicity's sake.
Mm-hmm.
After that, now that is on O'Connell Street. And after that, they all had their guns. They were in there for about a week, and most of them ended up getting killed. Tanks came in, soldiers came in. There's pictures of the burning of Dublin. Most of the buildings there are gone. They're on fire. Everything. They were there. They were doing their fighting, and then they just gave up. Now, most of the people in Ireland at the time did not agree with the how they went about doing the Easter Rising. It was their treatment of them. The men being executed in Kilmainham jail. Barry, I forget his name. He was only 14 years old. He was killed. Then they had another man who was incredibly sick. He was dying. If they just left him, he would have died like the next day.
Mm-hmm.
They brought him to yes, in Kilmainham jail. They brought him to a stick, sat him up and shot him. Then over in Wales, how they were treating Eamon de Valera, who would go on to become the president, then the Taoiseach of Ireland. That's the execution site, Kilmainham jail. And it was how they were treating him. The King of England wrote letters to the Prime Minister, was like, you need to treat him harder. Then it was like, you need to treat him softer. 1917, the Prime Minister of England turned around to the King and said, congratulations. You turned an army of 1,200 into an army of 4 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's the names of all the ones that were
like
killed there. Yeah, the cross there. Where
God, you can still see the stains on the wall.
Oh, I didn't. I guess yeah. I mean, I think it's great though that they've left it as is. I mean, so that's why if you ever can go to Kilmainham jail and learn about this, yeah. But you're right. It was the aftermath of it that caused so much issues, because it was particularly harsh. And it just goes to show that the harder you
treat your enemy,
the more that it'll do that. Yeah, and then the army 12 million, and then that's for independence. And and Michael Collins was a part of that as well.
Yep. The big man, Mickey. Yeah, Big Mike. He was like really tall, apparently. But yeah, he was part of it. He was he was the leader of the entire movement. Him and De Valera. He'd go out, he'd give speeches. Did you know that Ireland was originally going to be a kingdom?
That they wanted to make it a kingdom after independence?
Yes. That was the original plan.
I'd heard of that, but I don't know too many details.
So up until 1917-ish, give or take, they were going to give the throne of Ireland to the son of the Kaiser. They had plans for it and everything.
What was the thinking behind that?
The thinking behind it was that we used to be a kingdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that we will restore the kingdom of Ireland to the people of Ireland. And the reason is that the German line actually comes from the same line who created the High Kings of Ireland. Right? So they're like branch off descendants. Now, they could have given it to the son of the King of Spain because he was already a Catholic, but they went with the Germans. I don't know why. But then in 1917, they saw the war was going south, and a lot of people were turning on the king, and they said, look, we'll essentially be trading one crown for another, so it'll be no different. We won't have a country of our own, we'll be ruled by a foreign monarch again. So it then switched over and became a republic.
Okay. And then, so once the Irish won their independence, what made everything go south then?
The treaty.
Mhm.
So, Michael Collins, the British Empire was done fighting. Was done fighting in Germany, right? They now had. They said to Michael Collins, if you don't stop this fighting, we're going to come down on you. Not with the power of England, not with the power of the United Kingdom, with the power of the entire British Empire. We'll come down on top of Ireland and eradicate it. So Michael Collins was like, look, okay, fine, you'll have these 6 counties. We'll come back for them at a later date. But the thing was, they kept the crown in Ireland. They kept the king.
Yeah.
And that was the instigator. A lot of people were like, no, all we're doing is we're trading the colour of the flag. That's it. We're trading the Union Jack for they called it the Irish Jack. The anti-treaty guys called it the Irish Jack. Right? They said we're trading it for the Irish Jack, the tricolour. Then they're like, no, hold on, listen, we're going to go back at a later date. It actually took until 1947 for Ireland to become a full republic.
Wow.
Yeah.
And maybe help us out here. Like, why was England? I guess I'm trying to think. They didn't want to give up completely all of Ireland, so they just said these ones here. Like, it was
so the Ulster plantation was the most monarchist, was the most loyal. Right? They still could get the growing of the Irish soil. Then they still had access to some of the Irish Sea, so they could go over and come back and come up and over through Ireland. It was kind of a notch, if you look at it, which is Northern Ireland and Ireland, so they can go in and over, right? When they're going to Canada. So it wouldn't change their trade routes. And they could also say that they still had the Kingdom of Ireland. Gotcha. Which Northern Ireland does not have a flag to this day. An official flag.
Well, yeah, because they even say today, when Charles was crowned king, he's a king of
Great Britain and Great Britain and Northern Ireland is his official title.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah.
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 And a lot of the people in Northern Ireland, the Baron of Amsterdam is the heir to the British throne. So he's the Prince of Wales, the Baron of Amsterdam, at the same time.
Oh.
So, yeah, so he has one in England and one in Ireland.
Wow. Okay. So then we have that. And obviously there were the anti-treaty people and the treaty people.
Yes.
And that was what led to Michael Collins getting assassinated.
We don't know who actually killed him. There's theories on both. Yeah, there's theories on both sides. So what we do know is that he was going down the country road down in Cork, and he was shot, but we don't know by who. Like he was. Some people say he was shot by his own men. Other people say he was shot by a straight bullet. Some say it was friendly fire. Some even say it was a simple misfire of his gun. Because he was sitting with his gun on his boot in the car facing forward. Right? So they say when the gun went off, it went through his head. But in reality, we don't know to this day who killed him.
Wow. You see, as a little girl, I was taught that, yes, it was done by someone from the anti-treaty treaty
That's because
to.
you were in Cork.
Oh,
No, no, no.
no.
That's legitimately why. Because he was in Cork, and everyone in Cork they called Cork the rebel county, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And nobody in Cork wanted to accept that it could be their side. Like, yeah, like you studied history as well, and you'd have to really study or love history to realize that history's not black and white.
Hmm.
History's a big bucket of grey.
Hmm.
And when you're looking at it, as much as I want to go like, no, it was the anti-treaty side, I have to admit it to myself. It could have been friendly fire, could have been his own men, could have been an anti-treaty member dressed as his own men,
Hmm.
but they whoever it was, he ended up getting killed. Like, if you actually look at the firing, like the positions of all the firing and where he actually was, he could have been broadsided by his own men. He could have easily been sniped off by the anti-treaty. And have you seen the monument?
No, I haven't actually. Gosh, I
Hold
need
on,
to
I'll
go
get a
there next
Google
time.
picture of it. It's tiny. Hold on.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because I said at the beginning of the stream that I have a child's view of a lot of this from what we learned, and it's just something I've not extensively studied. But I remember hearing all about that, and of course it was a powder keg when that
Oh
occurred.
yeah, absolutely. Like, the actor who plays Mrs. Brown's Boys, Brendan O'Carroll, he said that his grandfather was shot by his own brother.
Hmm.
Um, like then in my own family, my great grandfather, his brothers got into a knife fight with each other because one was treaty and one was anti-treaty at the Christmas table.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, like
Literally brother against brother, and
yeah, and they were Michael Collins' cousin. So you think they would have been on his side, but one was like this was like they would have fought to the death for this. The two men did not speak until 1972 when my great grandfather passed away. That was the last time they spoke, the first time they spoke to each other.
50 years later, my goodness. Well, yeah, and I was
Yeah,
going to say that this is something that's very close to you, literally, because your family
yeah.
lived through this.
Oh yeah. Like you'd hear stories from it. Like there's funny stories, like them when my great grandfather tried to turn Limerick into a republic.
Really?
Yeah, in 1919 they tried to turn Limerick into a republic. The Irish Soviets, um, we all know who they are, so I won't get
Hmm.
into that.
Yeah.
But so the Irish Soviets decided, you know what, we're going to try our hand. Like, I know that there's a bit of a war going on, but let's have our own country. So they all got together and they decided to create passports, create a currency, and block off the only way in and out of Limerick. That did not work out for them. It lasted a weekend.
I was going to say that the story could not have ended well.
No,
So,
there was a shootout going all the way through Limerick City. And my great grandfather, his prison records say that he was shot on Sheep Street because his friend, who was an older man, who he met in prison, wonder what he was doing in 1919,
mhm.
and he was imprisoned, and then they got out, and his friend ended up dying on just outside of Sheep Street in Limerick. Now Sheep Street is kind of there, but kind of gone.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, no, I understand.
Yeah, like the street is there, but it has no name today. Like there's back of warehouses on it. That's
Mhm.
what Sheep Street is today. And by like the man ended up dying there, and he ended up going through his house and coming out the other side, and like ended up getting medical attention. He handed himself over to the constabulary so he could get like all stitched up and everything. And then they said, "Who are you?" He's like, "John Power from St. Finbarr's Chapel." And they're like, "Oh my God, you're from the wasteland. Are you okay?"
Wait,
No, but
I was gonna say St. Finbar. Wait, are you? So was that wasn't a dig at St. Finbar, was it?
no, it's that Dick a Cork.
Oh, I did. That's right. Okay, I was gonna say, yeah. For those of you that don't know, yeah, St. Finbar is a patron saint of Cork, and you've
Yeah.
in Waterford the same. I always say it wrong. I get very self conscious
No,
when you're on because
it's
I
no
know.
one. No one knows how to say his name because it's in Norse. It's
Oh,
in
that
Old
too.
Norse.
Yeah, because the
Like, what?
Vikings came in. Well, that's how
Yeah.
they settled around there. Oh my goodness. Well, I had no idea about this. I know you mentioned some things about your great grandfather. Now, so you did they actually fight like
Yeah.
officially in like on different sides? Like how
My great
many?
grandfather was in the I think it was the 15th regiment. He never really gave his like proper regiment to people. We kind of
Mhm.
found things out after he died. But he worked close with Collins at times.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Collins was his cousin, and when they handed over the viceroy, he was part of the. He was somewhere in like the Irish castle, right? Limerick
Hmm.
House. When they took it down and they put it up, he was somewhere amongst those men.
Wow.
I feel more likely he was behind Collins because, like, being family.
Hmm.
Collins's brothers were also behind there. So I'd say he was probably back there as well.
Wow. So we have three stages, because the rising kicked it all off. We had the
Yep.
independence and then the treaty and all heck breaking loose, and then the Civil War. Now, the Civil War, I think, is one of the saddest parts of it. I mean, not that there's
Oh
anything
God.
happy.
No, but like the Civil War, like there's. Have you ever seen The Wind That Shakes the Barley?
No, I have not.
It is a must watch. It's about the Irish. It's really well done. It's about the Irish War, the Civil War, and uh, War of Independence.
Hmm.
In it, you can literally see the guys turning on each other
Oh, it just
who had
breaks your
got
heart.
they had been tortured months, a year before. They were like, we were brothers, and then one of them was like, "What? You're going to turn yourself around and just switch it out for a different flag? But we are here, and our men died. My body died to get rid of this king, and now you want to keep him? No, you're after betraying us." So he went out against them. They set off bombs. They set off everything, and it was terrifying. Um, there was an absolute like terrifying time. Because even the I know it's a really weird movie, but have you seen the Banshee of Inisharn?
Yes, the one where the guy keeps cutting off his digits.
Weird movie,
Yes.
yes. But you know the bombing in the background?
Yes.
That's the Civil War.
Yeah. Oh.
Like, and you could hear it from the islands.
Oh yeah. And the whole movie was a metaphor for the Civil War, like what was happening between the two friends in there,
Yeah,
and him cutting off his own fingers and still trying to play the music.
yeah. They like even to this day, family members still don't speak to each other over it. Like my granddad had cousins. He never spoke to it. Like his father refused to speak to him
Hmm.
because they were on different sides. And then my like with my great grandfather on my grandmother's side, like the one related Collins, he didn't speak to a lot of them. And my gran said that when he'd be there, he'd have a ball in his hand, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if he say he was playing cricket with you, right, which he
Mm-hmm.
used to love, and you're there and you're like, you okay? If he threw the ball like a grenade, his hand would start shaking,
Mm.
and then he'd just look at his hand and he'd be there. And my gran said that when she'd be playing, he'd punch the wall and then pull his hand back and be like, I'm okay. I'm like, the man had bad PTSD.
Yeah.
He was fighting from 1916 up until 1924, and he was just a kid.
Oh.
Like his wife, I actually have a photo mocking the Crown of Ireland. Let me just find it. Sorry, this will take me a second because
No,
they've
no,
sent.
that's quite all right. But I just the way you say that because you're just putting a personal face on it, and again, they were kids and it was
Yeah,
fierce, but nothing. I mean, when you talk about the brotherhood with a big B and a capital
yeah,
B, but also the brotherhood with a small b, everything that the Irish had been through, and
yes,
then to turn on each other like that, I think it was as fierce as it was because only great love can bring that amount of
tragedy.
passion, yeah, and tragedy, yeah.
Yeah, like there is stories of people attacking each other with Bowie knives.
Yeah.
Like, like those big American hunting knives.
Oh yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? I'm from Texas. We know what those are. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's stories of people attacking those. It was actually the fighting was actually so bad that the Irish government took her guns away. That's how bad it was.
Mm.
Like, people. I'm not going to get into the gun thing on your channel, but people turned around and they were there and they're like, "What's going on? Why are you doing this?" And they take the gun and they shove it into someone's mouth.
Ugh.
Like on my grandfather's side, his dad came out one day and found his little brother dead in the front garden.
Oh,
He was
and
11.
oh, yeah. See, that's just
Yeah,
almost unfathomable.
like he said, like they were staying out of it and everything, and they're like, no, no, you're not. And they sent him the warning message by killing an 11-year-old. Meanwhile, it turns the rest of them into the biggest rebels that you'd see.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely insane what they did to each other. And there's even stories like where you see people, you'd be like, oh yeah, what are you doing? You're like, oh yeah, this. So the pillars of the GPO still to this day have the bullet holes in it.
Mhm.
And excuse me, and you're looking and you're like, oh yeah, like if an American tourist was passing, they'd be like, I've heard them saying like, oh yeah, because there's no markers, like what's this for? This right? All the markers are inside.
Mhm.
And I'm there and I'm like, and I'm looking and I'm like, they really should have a marker on the outside, like this is where the War of Independence started. This is our bullet holes.
Yeah.
Like in the where what would you call it now? In the Reginald's Tower, in Waterford, there's still all bullet holes. Like
Yeah.
from the War of Independence. The GPO in Waterford, the General Post Office, that's what the GPO means, if anyone's wondering. Um, so they had a seal over the door, right? And the
Mhm.
seal had George, I think it was the fifth, his seal on it. And the story is that there was a man putting the seal over it, and when they went, they're like, "Hey, hey, like Larry or whatever, we're after getting independence." He just dropped the seal and smashed it on the floor.
Hmm.
Like then they replaced it with the seal for the Republic of Ireland.
Wow.
But yeah, did you hear the story about the statue of Queen Victoria in Australia?
No, I did not. Let's hear it.
Okay, so the statue uh, in Victoria in Australia, they're like, lads, we need to get a statue for Queen Victoria because like we're Victoria, it's their centenary. Like, come on, we need. So they went and they contacted every single country that Queen Victoria ever ruled over, and they're like, no, we don't have any spare statues. They went to Ireland, right?
Uh-huh.
And they phoned up and they're like, yeah, where would you have? And it's like, hold on. The guy picks up the phone and is like, hello. Oh yeah, you want the statue of the fat bitch? Hold on. Turns around and it's like, where's the fat bitch? And they literally had sent over the statue of Queen Victoria, and on the box it was labeled fat bitch.
Oh my gosh. Well, that sounds very Irish. Yeah. Well, and understand, people that might be listening, it's like, oh my gosh, that's kind of harsh and all that. But here's the story. Until you've lived through something like that, and when we're talking about the oppression, we're not talking 10 years, we're not talking 20 years, we're talking what, 400, 500 years,
800.
800 if you count from the Norman, well, not the Normans. What, help me out here? What
It's okay. So officially, it's 800 years from the time that the Normans came over.
Okay, so
Then
right.
it's 1500s from the plantation. So take it
Mhm.
which you will, but we count it as 800. I have something to show you. I found a picture.
Oh, okay. All right, let me see. Here we are.
This is my great grandmother, Josephine McNamara, right?
Mhm.
Well, she's Powers, but that was her maiden name. This was taken the day of independence, like the day after, right?
Yeah.
That chair is the exact replica of the Viceroy of Ireland's chair,
No
right?
way. Yeah.
Yeah. People used to take photographs on it. But do you notice something? She stand to the side because it's empty, because there is no Viceroy.
Mm-hmm.
So she stand to the side, and that picture was mocking. These pictures were mocking the Viceroy of Ireland. The fact that it's like, oh no, we don't have any.
I'll see. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, yeah. Picture tells
Yeah,
1,000 words, right?
it does. Oh God, how old was she there? She was 21,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I was gonna
22
say not too
thereabouts.
old.
No, she didn't last too much longer. She had 10 kids, one after another.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Back in the day. So yeah, 800 years counting that, and 500 years, and of course the penal days. And
Yeah.
sometimes Americans just don't get it. You know
No.
that it's
It's why the Irish and Irish diaspora. That, oh, by the way, that's the official name for people of Irish descent. They're the diaspora
Mhm.
now, and it's kind of why we and ye stick together as a family,
Mhm.
because like throughout our history, we lost everything. We lost our language. We lost our family. So when we find family, we find like we stick together.
Mhm.
And genealogy is huge in Ireland.
Yeah.
Like I'm after finding a number of cousins in America that I talk to on a daily basis now.
Yeah. Thank goodness for the technology. And
Exactly.
I remember being in Ireland, and all my friends had American cousins. And
Yeah.
then when I started teaching here in Catholic schools,
Mm-hmm.
I had a bunch of kids that were like, "Oh, we have a bunch of Irish cousins." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you're the American cousins I've been hearing about all my life."
We
There
found
they
you.
are. Yes, we know each other from two different sides of the ocean. But yeah, and of course the famine. I mean, just the
Mm.
famine alone. A lot of I think famine's the wrong word for it, of course, because it really wasn't a famine. It was a failed crop.
100. It was actually 100 years long. Did you know
Okay.
that?
Uh, I've not heard that, but I'm curious. What when you say 100 years long, from when to when?
1750 to 1890.
Mm.
Thereabouts. Like Connacht still has not recovered.
Oh no.
Um, like there's many places. Like it wasn't one famine. Like the famine that everyone's familiar with is the Great Famine, right? Now there was a smaller famine back in the 1780s to the 1790s. Then there was even on one or two parts of Ireland, there was a smaller one in the 1950s, which led to a mini pandemic. Then now, if you turn on the news at Christmas and at winter time, they tell you that they'll give you the blight warning in the farmers' forecast,
Huh.
which means it's still there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there you are. Yeah, what caused the failure? But of course, the actual starvation was manufactured. There was food in Ireland. There
So
was food in the means to feed
yeah.
people.
So the Irish were underneath the penal laws, right? Which meant
Hmm.
that they couldn't own a horse worth more than £5. They couldn't speak the Irish language. They couldn't practice Catholicism, and they could not eat anything except potatoes. And that is what now there was 10,000 tons of food being exported from Ireland every single day of the famine. There's stories in everyone's family. Like my four times great grandfather married a lady, right? The
Hmm.
granddaughter of the Earl of Tyrone. Now her father was an MP for County Dungarvan, and during the famine, he broke into his. My four times great grandfather broke into his father in law's house and took all of his food, left enough there for him. And when they were going out, he said that he had a little baggie of food and he gave it to one of the workers of the house. And people are like, well, obviously she left him in,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And like we've got his diaries, and he says he wasn't proud, but kept his kids alive.
Yeah.
Like he said, like his kids were in their 20s, but he was in his 40s. He said he wasn't going to let his kids go hungry.
Yeah. Well, and one can't ever judge what people would do. I remember being told it down in Cork, a
Yeah,
great port of Cork, that's where a lot of the exports would happen, and they would have to bring in the army
the
to,
constabulary.
yeah, or can stop. Thank you, because the people were so starving that they didn't care for their lives. They were just trying to get at the food, and
There was a famous court case, I forget her name, where a woman was brought into jail, right? Because she
mhm,
cooked her dog.
ugh, yeah.
And they brought the saucepan with the remains still inside it as the exhibit. And she was sentenced to 10 years in prison. She died after 6 months.
Mm. Yeah. Oh gosh, and of course the workhouses and all that, and that's where a lot of the Americans come from, rather the American Irish, because of course if you could get
Yeah.
out of there, but then
Yep.
the coffin ship that wasn't necessarily a pleasure cruise.
Have you ever been on the Dunbrody?
No, I have not.
Oh, I have. It it'll burn your soul. You can
Mhm,
feel it inside you. Like they'd have people like stacked up like sardines,
mhm.
and they said that when one would get sick, they just chuck him overboard.
Yeah, yeah, just horrendous. And then of course when they arrived here in the United States, it wasn't exactly a party either, and loads of prejudice. Some of the
They
same
were
prejudices that they faced over in Ireland were over here.
Yeah, they when my four times great grandfather went over in 1940, 1918, my four times great grandfather, he went over with like what would be considered today millions, right, in his
Hmm.
pocket. And he could not say to anyone he was Irish. He had to speak with a thick Prussian accent.
Oh, yeah, because of the prejudice.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they wouldn't
yeah.
hire you. They wouldn't. You wouldn't
They
live.
wouldn't sell him the land. Like he was there. Like he got off the ship. He was a broken man. Like, and they said that when he got off the ship, name, he's like Matthias Thrum. He couldn't call himself Matthew, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
And they're like, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to buy." He said, "I'm going to buy some land," but in a thick Prussian accent.
yeah,
He couldn't tell anyone he was Irish because they wouldn't sell it to him.
yeah.
And then you had drones where, because back in that time, the Irish weren't actually considered white or human.
Hmm. Oh, yeah.
It was,
They were less than human.
yeah.
Oh,
The term, yeah, the term in America, the fighting Irish, is actually an insult. And the look of the Irish. Sorry, it's the look of the Irish that's an insult because they
interesting. Could
said,
you expand on that? Yeah.
okay, so basically, the Irish should go in. Okay, sorry, my screen went black for a second. The Irish went in to, let's say, Boston, right? They'd
Hmm.
go there and they'd, let's say, I'm your cousin, right? I
Yeah.
go in, I go over to you, and I get better. I start putting on weight. Then I go from there. You're like, what are you going to do? Because you're going to need a job. Like, I need a bit of money to like feed an extra mouth in this house. And I'm like, right, what's the one thing I can do? I'll become a cop, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
go and become a cop. Then after a few years, I run for office and I get office, right? They're like,
Hmm.
well, he fell into a house. Then he fell into being a police officer. He rose up through the ranks, not a problem because like I was a good cop, but he rose up through the ranks, not an issue. And then he fell into a political office. Like they called it the look of the Irish because they said the Irish didn't have to work for anything.
Ah, gotcha. Well, yeah, and some of the things that we have here that are stereotypical things that go along with St. Patrick's Day kind of rankle me a little bit. It feels a little bit weird because some of them are some racial stereotypes, especially some of the
They,
leprechaun stuff.
I hate St. Patrick's Day with a burning passion.
Mm,
Like St. Patrick's Day is honestly an American holiday. Like the St. Patrick's Day we see today is not the St. Patrick's Day
no.
of how it used to be. The actual fact is, the St. Patrick's Day we know today was actually created in New York by a load of the people who served in the American Civil War.
Yes. Yeah.
But
And that was
when
a big thing too, a
yeah,
turning point for many of the Irish here.
it
Yes.
was. And one of the big things that annoys me for some reason, if you don't wear green, you get pinched.
Uh,
I don't own anything green. And if someone tried to pinch me, I'd knock him out.
yeah. Well, eh, I sometimes get in trouble when I'm like, y'all know what wearing green really is supposed to mean? Because everyone's wearing green, and I'm like, oh, really? But here's what St. Patrick's Day is, and correct me if I'm wrong. St.
Okay.
Patrick's Day is a holy day of obligation because he's a patron saint of Ireland, and so it's on the calendar just like any other
Yes.
saint. Except that since he's a patron of Ireland, I think it might be an holy day of obligation. But either way, it would be no different from us on Our Lady of Guadalupe on December 12th, because the Our Lady of Guadalupe is like the patroness of the Americas.
Yeah.
That's what St. Patrick's Day is. It happens to be what is on the calendar for the liturgy of that day, and it is celebrated as a holiday. I remember being off school and people would
Yes.
go to mass. That's what St. Patrick's Day is.
Now, also on Knock, uh, the mountain up there is where St. Patrick's Shrine is. You walk that with no shoes, and then you crawl half the way.
Yeah, that's hardcore.
It is. It's like Fair deals to you.
Yeah, it's a pious act.
It is.
And people do the same on where St. Patrick is. Is it Croak Hill or maybe no? Oh
That's
gosh,
it.
yeah.
No, it's Croak. Croak
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes, I was about ready to say, because I don't follow Knock too much. Now, Knock is a private revelation, so you can take it or leave it. But yeah, that's what I know of. So I've never been up
Yeah,
to Knock.
I got it confused. I thought it was up in Knock, but no.
Mhm.
No, so do you know what happened in Knock?
Oh, yes. Our Lady
Yeah.
appeared allegedly, because remember, it's a private revelation. You can take it or leave it. But uh, with John the Evangelist and the Lamb of God, like it showed it as a lamb on a wall, and
Yes.
many people saw it, and many got a great deal of comfort from it because of the idea that Our Lady is still looking after you. And when you see a
So
statue of
they
Our
did
Lady of
some
Knock,
recently up in Knock where there was meant to be something about the sun, and a load of people like gathered up and they're like, "Are we going to see Our Lady? What's going to go on?" And then they all started freaking out, saying that the sun, there was something weird about the sun, and a load of people were recording it, and apparently the sun looks weird on recordings.
mm, oh, well, there
Um,
you go. Yeah, well, also Fatima, the thing. Well, and it
yeah,
makes sense because a woman clothed with the sun. Yes. So you will find when you go to Ireland, you'll often see Our Lady of Knocking and statues. They'll even have them in souvenir stores for probably Americans like me. So, but it's a very beautiful
it
symbol
is.
of Our Lady looking after Ireland.
It is like then there's the little one of the little traditions that we have, a lot of people do, is that they'll have a little crucifix at the front door with a little basin attached to it
Mhm.
that has some holy water in it, and as you pass it you just touch the holy water and bless yourself as you come in and out.
Ah, yes, I remember that in Ireland, and actually, I have one in my house
Do
because
you?
of that. Yeah, well, because understand a lot of the Catholic kind of things I know were from what I would see my Catholic friends doing. Because remember, I don't have any Catholic customs in my family because I'm a convert. So I remember my friends having those. So yes, I got one of those in Ireland, and I have it inside my door. Though actually, I need to refill the actual holy water in it. But yes, and many Irish American Catholics, like when they have that it too, and when they'll come in, they'll know exactly what it is. But yeah,
Yep.
that's the thing. Just like the way you would go in and out of a church.
Yes, exactly. And uh one of the things that I thought was when I went over to America, I was looking and I was like, well, that's a little. You've never seen that?
Yeah.
My grandmother had one. It was a little silver one with little Jesus behind the door.
Mm. Yeah, well, I'll show you a picture of mine because I went all out when I was there, and I
Yeah,
got like one of those really heavy, you know,
the big
cross
ones.
ones. Yeah, yeah. So in yeah, it's a very lovely custom. Well, of course, it's St. Bridget's cross.
Oh, we used to make those in my school.
Hmm.
We were taught we used to make them out of lollipop sticks and cotton wool.
Yeah.
Do you do the thing where it's like on St. Bridget's Day, um, you hang like a rag out on the line, and then St. Bridget's meant to bless it, and then you put it on your sores.
Oh, n- can't say I have, but that sounds pretty awesome. Why not?
Yeah. Have you looked in to the early? S- It might have been in your grandmother's house because it tended to be in the older side. Corey, like
Hmm.
my grandmother had one. Like when she passed, she was just 90, and she passed like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
But
it was a thing. I
yeah,
remember this is back in the 80s,
mm,
and it. You know what's funny though is I have a mix of course, Irish Catholic things in my house,
yes,
like what I've just said, but also things of Mexican heritage because where I live. It's a big thing. And once a plumber guy came in and he's talking away and then finally goes, I just have to say this. I love your house because it reminds me of my grandmother's house. And I remember thinking, does that mean I'm old? It's like,
Yes.
yeah, yes, yeah. Well, those lovely customs like that. Yeah. So, and of course, the wearing of the green. Bickles is right. Green was for cat. Yeah, green is a Catholic color. Orange is he said P word Protestant. Well, and that's where the white comes from. Is peace between them on the
Yeah.
flag.
On the island of Ireland, there was, so for some weird uh thing, right?
Mhm.
In a lot of fantasies and things like that, they put a V on the Irish flag in a few different fantasy like animes, like in sci-fi's I've seen. They put a silver V on the flag. Like
Mhm.
what? Some of us like it's for the Fifth Irish Republic. I'm like, am I missing something?
Yeah. But no, yeah, a lot of things. I remember that you go to Ireland and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's like an American thing. Yes, you are green, so you can wear green. And so so when I see everyone wearing green here in America, I'm like, okay, I know they're doing it because it's St. Patrick's Day. I don't think the whole country just turned Roman Catholic and they're
No.
yeah. But just look at the lyrics to the wearing of the green. There's a bloody law against the wearing of the green. It's not that you couldn't wear green, but it was talking about the laws against Catholicism. And
Our
and
national color is actually blue.
oh,
Yeah. The Do you ever watch the Dole questions and answers?
no.
If you do, you'll notice the carpet is blue because the official color of Ireland is blue.
I'm feeling really ignorant right now. Oh,
Also, the harp is facing the way it's facing because of Guinness.
oh well, I do know that. Yeah.
Yeah, that Guinness put their harp out facing right, so the official Irish harp is facing left.
Oh, yeah. Well, oh, gosh, you heard it here first. I'm Googling this right now. Everybody Google. Yes, azure blue, the color blues associated with St. Patrick dates back from the 1780s when it was adopted as a color of the Anglo-Irish Order of St. Patrick. Oh, okay.
Yeah, look up Dáil Éireann and you'll see the blue carpet.
Oh, well, there you are. Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, because the orange is from William of Orange. Lurch
Yeah.
of Slight Return. The stream would be great if it wasn't noon where I am and I was trying to fall asleep. Oh, well, maybe we'll put you to sleep. Who knows? But yeah, and actually, you can find some pictures of St. Patrick in blue. Yeah, it's coming up here. Yeah, and then the
Yeah.
heart. Well, there you heard it here first. So, yeah, and
Did you get Irish language classes?
oh yeah, well, I've talked with you about this because I feel
Yeah.
self-conscious. Yeah, I remember Irish, and we used to talk in Irish with the teachers, or rather, I always say the teachers used to yell at us.
Cadagum Dulgadion Lefris Moshe the Holly on Muntor.
Yes,
No.
yes. Or first we would say, some people would say Dollamach, and finally the teacher
Yes.
said, "Oh my gosh, that's what we used to say when there were outhouses. You're supposed to say Dulgadia Lefris." It was like, oh, okay. I just did what because it was when my fourth. My second class teacher had taught us to say Dollamach. That was the first time I got there to Ireland. And then the third class was like, what are you talking about? You're not going outside.
You're like, but miss, it's such a lovely day. I want to play in the trees. Your second class, don't you mean your second standard?
Oh dear, yeah. Well, yeah, and Dune and Doris, Masha Holiday teacher would say, and of course,
Uh-huh.
Lava Suis, because they used to yell, "Raise your hand," because we'd shout out. But I actually understand. It's really weird because I do understand more Irish than I thought. But because
Yes.
every time I go back to Ireland, and I'll like hear the announcements on the train or on the at the airport, and I'll be like,
It's
I just understood what that person said. That's very weird.
Yeah, so the poor guy on the train recorded those stuff in like the 1990s, right?
Mhm.
And he comes back, and everyone's like, Jesus, does he need a Valium? It's like, next stop is Thomastown. My
Yes.
wife left me. The dog
Yeah.
killed himself.
Well, they have the Dublin accent too. That's the other thing that
Yeah.
yeah, but I guess that's like kind of the quote unquote standard. But I always go to mass in Irish when I'm in Ireland if I can. In Cork, they have the Irish mass
Oh,
off St. Patrick's Street. So
at 10
that's
o'clock in the
close.
morning on rte.ie, if you go and hit live, you'll
Mhm.
get mass.
Oh,
It
nice.
might be in English and it might be in Irish. They go around different churches.
Oh, well,
And
sweet. Yeah.
yeah. Then
Well,
on Sunday, they go around different denominations.
okay. Well, the good thing about Irish is, well, or at least the mass, because I
Yeah.
went to a Catholic bookstore in off of St. Patrick's Street. I hang around St. Patrick's Street a lot because that's where I often go for a convention. But
Yeah.
they I got one of those sheets, so one of those cards with all the set responses for it. So
Mm.
that's how I follow along. Because I didn't learn the mass in Irish because I went to a Church of Ireland school. So
Yeah.
I don't know any of the Irish prayers. I've been trying to like learn the Hail Mary. I think you sent me the Hail Mary in Irish,
I
but
did. But
yes.
the Vatican has recently changed prayers and answers. So that's fun.
Oh, yes, you're right. Oh, see, I didn't realize they did that in Irish too. I know they did it in English, well, because more accurately, because they
Yeah.
did a crap translation. I wouldn't know if they did it crap in Irish, but yeah, we love Irish here, and one of these days I'm gonna learn it better. But I would love to like go into one of those immersive things out in the Gaeltacht. There's actually one up in Connacht that has
Actually,
a
there's some in
Gaelic school.
America.
Uh, yes,
There's
there
2
are.
million American. There's 2 million Irish speakers in America.
Oh, I believe it, yeah, and I've been trying to find some, but I
Have you
went to
tried
one.
Facebook?
Well, yeah, I mean, I try to stay away from Facebook, though, because it's a one-way ticket to doxing, because of the way it is, but, yeah, I found one nearby, but it was an American speaking Irish. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I want a native speaker." But, I'll find it, but, but
Yeah.
I was about ready to say, "Shut up, this is my excuse to go to Ireland again." So, it's like
My
I wanna go
Here's
out
the
there.
funny thing. My cousin in Boston is actually fluent in Irish from the 1800s. He
Oh,
cannot understand modern Irish because it's the same Irish that my 4 times great grandfather spoke when he went to America. And then his kids came over and they stayed and they kept the language from the 1840s.
oh my gosh. So it's probably like talking like Shakespearean English or
Yeah,
something.
it's
It's like,
yeah,
what
like
the heck are you saying?
you hear him and it's like, dude, what the fluff are you saying?
Yeah, exactly. Or like you're talking like, oh, I'm here having my
Yeah,
supper and my dinner. I speak well, no, it's called Gaeilge. Gaelic is like an adjective of the I
yeah.
or people just call it Irish, or like I said, Gaeilge. I always was taught it was Gaeilge. And
The official name in English is Irish, and the
mhm,
official name in if you're saying like oh yeah, I'm talking Irish, you're like it's me kind os Gaelga.
yeah, there you are.
Don't forget, don't forget to put the on certain words and clear that chest.
Oh, yes, exactly. Well done, mush it all, eh?
Yeah,
Uh, and of course, the Cork dialect and pronunciation is very different from the Dublin. Like I always tell people gierig is winter in Cork. In Dublin, they call it Gevra. Like,
so the reason for that is different. Like provinces have different dialects,
yep, just like in any
and
language. Mhm.
yeah, but they're trying to make the entirety of the Irish language the Leinster dialect. Because you know,
Oh,
Dublin is that sacred city.
no, no, no. Oh, that won't go over well.
It's not. It's a mess. They're actually one of the proposals that they're thinking about doing is making all primary schools Squeltox. Right? And
Mhm.
then when those kids who go to the Gaeltachts um age up to go to the secondary school, they're going to make the secondary schools Gaeltachts. That's their plan. And then the Irish language will be back.
Well, that's probably a good thing, but you got to keep the dialect. I mean, because I wouldn't
It
even
makes
know Irish. When I hear Dublin Irish, it's weird. It's just not
it
right.
is because Dublin is heavily influenced by Britain.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing. Like even the way they speak Irish has a lot of like British twang. Like if you hear a posh Dubliner, Google says you speak Irish Gaelic. That's like saying you'd speak Irish.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, and again, Gaelic is it's like an adjective because that also refers to like the Scottish
Scots.
language and the
Scots call it Scots Gaelic.
yeah. Yeah, Google sucks. No, it's Gaelic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, like I said, I think it's a good thing. I know a lot of uh, people that I knew back then that they're sending their kids out to like private schools or rather boarding schools and stuff for Irish. But I'm very surprised just because from what I know what's going
Yeah.
on in Ireland right now, I'd be very surprised that they want to encourage the Irish language, if you know what I
The
mean.
government aren't. The government
Ah.
had one of the government official ministers got in for trouble for saying that Irish is a dead language and does anyone actually need it?
I mean, see, again, that just is a complete a misunderstanding of history as well. Because guess who wouldn't let the Irish speak Irish?
Oh yeah,
It's like
there was a
what?
video from 2 days ago of one of the Irish's full protests, and the guards one of the Gardaí ripped the Irish flag out of some guy's hand. He dropped it on the ground and then he kicked it
Oh,
away.
that's terrible. I've been seeing what's going on over there, and again, we don't want to. We want to stay happy here, but that if it's not coming from the government, then that's a good thing. That's coming
Yeah,
from the people. And I've said this once, I've said this twice, and I'll say it again. I have never heard more Irish spoken recently as much as recently. Like when I was a kid, I do not remember hearing Irish on the streets or
no.
in spoken, but it's really starting to be everywhere. You
What's
will hear
really
people
become
conversing in it.
popular
Mhm.
now is that like it's popular amongst like Irish teenagers. So when they get to like 16, 17, they go to the Whale Talk for a week or two.
Mhm.
All of them. Like my cousin and all her friends have gone,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you'd hear her speaking Irish, absolutely fluent in it. But the weird thing is when she speaks it, she's got a posh accent.
Oh, no. That's from
Yeah.
the is that from the Leinster stuff or
No, she goes down to Cork on
or
Ring.
is it
Well, it's County Waterford, but it's border Cork. She's down in on Ring.
Oh, okay. Because I was about ready to say, it's like, wait a second. Well, they better not. I, if you've ever heard the Cork, especially in Irish and in English, it's a treasure. It's a treasure, I tell you.
Yeah.
And it's made fun of. Like Dublin people make fun of the Cork people. Mm.
Well, let's be fair. Everyone makes fun of Dubliners.
Well, that's true. It's mutual, and then everyone makes fun of Kerry because of the Kerryman jokes.
How do you
So
get a carry man into a taxi? Throw in a fiver. How do you get him out? Tell him the price.
one of my favorite ones is there's a carryman on a ferry and there's a dude drowning in the water saying, I can't swim. And the carryman says, I don't play the piano, but you don't see me yelling about it. I love that. I still have all of my carryman jokes. And there's books that they sell in the airports and at tourist place called the Feckin'
Yes.
Book of Irish History and carryman jokes as well. But the Feckin' Book of Irish History is hysterical.
I'll have to pick that up when I go to the airport. I'll pick one up for you.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, I bought them all. But thank you. Yeah. Well, the first thing I buy when I get to the airport is black currant flavored cough drops. We don't have them here.
You do.
We do where?
Amazon. I sent bottles of blackcurrant to my friends from Amazon.
But cough drops.
Oh, I haven't seen those in. Yeah, most people in America think that the blackcurrant's still illegal.
Yeah, no, that's not. No, we can get black currant, like the juice, like in the international aisle. I'm talking about the damn it cough drops. I
Hold
mean,
on.
and oh yeah, I just buy them like they're like it's something illegal. And I go to I go to the Tesco or whatever, and I come back with it, but I haven't been back since before the pandemic. So it's like I'm out of cough drops. I'm like because they don't have it. And Cytona and all of those good
I found
things.
some for you. I found
Oh no.
a yeah, a whole box, a whole like stores box of them for $36. Blackcurrant,
Yeah.
24 bucks, 24 count pack of 6. I'll send it to your Twitter.
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, because I'm looking it up here, and yeah, I guess I would need to know the right search thing. Yeah, so that's one of the. Yeah, we're getting a little bit into the culture there, but just to swing back around a little bit to St. Patrick's
Yeah,
Day, a fun joke. This year, St. Patrick's Day is falls on a Sunday, so technically, St. Patrick's Day will not be on the 17th, like the holy day, but they do tend to in Ireland because it's such a big fuss. I believe they move it to the 18th or the
yeah.
16th. I forget which one it is.
It's just well, this year we're celebrating it on the 17th.
Oh,
Well,
so
I
they're
did,
well, you
oh,
celebrate the secular part, but like the
yeah.
actual mass because it's Lent, you can't trump Jesus. So I think the
No,
mass is being celebrated
the
on the
mass is
Monday.
on. I I'm not sure when the mass is. I remember it used to be celebrated on the Saturday. My granddad used to bring us to it.
Okay, so
When it'd be
maybe
on
it
a
would be maybe it's before, maybe it's the 16th. I forget
yeah.
because also St. Joseph's comes up, so we don't want to mess with St. Joseph's Day either. It gets very complicated, but as far as the mass now in America, at least in my diocese, I don't think they bother changing it on the calendar because it's not as important, to our culture here, like the way we
March
do. We would.
4th,
Oh,
I
they're
think it
doing it on
was.
March 4th.
I've seen some. I just looked it up. St. Patrick's Day Mass 2024. Oh, that's St. Patrick's Cathedral. Hold on.
Oh yeah, that doesn't count. Oh, oops. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
little bit of a story for you Irish, or you Catholics here in America. I've had more than one person make this mistake. They assume that St. Patrick's Cathedral, you will get to go to mass. You will not, and that has to do with the history. Yes, it will
Oh,
not be
what
Catholic. Um,
is it? Did they sell it?
what do you mean sell it? It depends on what your
Oh,
definition. In other words, it's a Church of Ireland one, but no, there is a Catholic one. But
okay.
just be aware that because I had a friend that she thought she was going to mass, and she's like, "Why aren't they saying mass here?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, the same way Saint Finbarr's Cathedral is not Catholic either." Um,
Yeah, I
yeah.
went to when I was in America, I was with one of my friends and he's a Protestant and he brought me to his church and I'm like, am I safe here? Will I burst into flames? I
Oh
need to go and
no!
tell the Pope.
Oh
And
no!
he was absolutely in hysterics. He's like, why would you tell the Pope? I said, the sinners are back.
Oh no, no. Well, of course you
Question.
can go to mass. I mean not mass. I mean to different
Yeah.
services and all that. But yeah, but intercommunion is not possible right now.
No.
Who knows? Well,
Actually, if a Catholic gets a communion in any other church other than the Catholic Church, they'll be excommunicated on the spot.
well, yes and no, not formally, but yeah, but if you know
Yeah,
what you're doing, because a lot of Catholics don't know. But yes, if you are taking actual communion from another church, you're actually changing your allegiance. So it's a little
yeah,
tricky. But I mean, I always tell people the main reason is, and neither would the Protestants say so, that it is not the transubstantiation. They don't have holy orders, so they have a completely different understanding of it. It's not that we're trying to be complete. Yeah, but
yes,
you're right. Uh, technically, yes, when you receive communion, that is like a public act of now my allegiance is, with here I am ascending to this creed, assenting
yeah.
rather.
When
But
I
yeah,
was working in the church I was working in was a Methodist church, well,
hmm
United Methodist,
yeah,
and I was leaving. They're like, "Oh, yeah, here's the little office you can work from." I'm like, "Oh, thanks. At least I have windows, if you call those windows." But I went in and it was like when I was before the construction started, it was like the kids' room where they get like their Bible study and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
on the wall it said it had the Our Father on it, and I'm like, what's this crap at the end? And it's like, for thine is the kingdom of heaven, and I'm like,
Well, that's partly that's from the liturgy, by the way. But
yeah,
yeah, it's confusing, and that's how you know from what communion somebody was raised. Because if you ever say the Our Father, the Catholics stop after "Deliver us
mm,
from evil," and the Protestants go on. But the kingdom and power and the glory and all that is actually part of the Mass, which is a response to something that the priest says after the Our Father. But I know I'm preaching to the choir here,
yeah,
but yeah, this is, and I guess I was bringing it up just to say that you can see a living representation of the divisions. Like, why are all these ancient Catholic cathedrals not Catholic? And it's like, well, because when the Reformation happened and the Catholicism was outlawed, they
mm.
were, for lack of a better word, they were seized. So
No, they
and
were.
yeah, okay, yeah, I'll just say it, but yeah, I'm trying to be a little bit diplomatic because, of course, you can't blame people. And nowadays, it's like, hey, they weren't alive when this happened, and I know it's complicated because some people are
I
saying,
can
well, why
still
don't they?
bonk him on the head.
Oh, well, okay, that's speaking from an Irish man's point of view. Biggles, I moved so far away from my last Catholic church, I guess I am treasonous. Now, no, you're not. Hey, everyone's conscience is their conscience. I think in context when I'm talking about it with Irish history, I'm
Yeah,
talking about what it represents in the past, and like you have something like Westminster Abbey, to use an example. Let's just say, how could they give it back? I just don't know. Yeah, how can you give it
yeah.
back after all these years? And all that mixed marriage was a big deal in Ireland. Yeah. Well, and
Oh, it was a huge deal. Like, it was bigger than if someone actually stopped believing. But if you turned around and you're like, "Oh, I'm marrying a Protestant," they're like, "What you want to do that now for?"
yeah, it was a different time. I think nowadays there's not as bad an attitude, though. I understand the idea, though, that, like, for
Yes.
me, if I was gonna make babies, it was gonna I was gonna be, married to a Catholic man, for one thing, because I think it is very difficult to raise a family and say, "Yes, mommy says we're going to mass and all this. Dad doesn't have to do any of it." You know what I mean? It's like, okay, when you're divided there, and often sometimes with mixed marriage, and we say mixed, sometimes people go, "Oh my gosh, you're race." And no, we're not talking race. We're talking about different religions or different denominations, and it can
Yes.
be different religions. Is Everyone's usually really cool with it. I've seen this happen so many times. Oh, it doesn't matter. We love is love and all that until the first baby shows up, and then it's like, ooh. So all of a sudden, it's like, well, I want, and
So
you see, people
yeah, and
naturally want to baptize their child, or if they're Jewish, they want them to be circumcised. It's very natural with your children.
hey, Steve. Yeah,
Oh,
like you turn around and someone's like, "Oh yeah, we're going to this church," and they're like, "Don't sound very Catholic now, does it, Bob? What? Uh, why? Can't you get a slap up in Our Ladies? No, up in Sacred Heart? No." And they're like, "Oh no, 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 we're going to go down to St. Joseph's, right?" And
mhm.
it's
Yeah.
like just very suspicious. When you were
It's
growing up, did you hear like because my mother and my grandfather was saying this, they both heard this, that like the Protestant churches had to have like the crucifix upside down, and they'd have it like, it was just like the way they were talking, it sounded like a Satanist, and I'm like, that sounds
no,
weird.
and some of those were not superstitions, but it
Prejudice.
no, yeah, well, yeah, prejudice, and I mean both sides did it, but for sure, So sometimes what I'm saying is, hey, I'm not saying that Catholics were
Yeah,
angels, far from it. Okay, but also that's what happens when you divide people. By law, for crying out loud, you make up things about each other. Now,
you do.
Protestants will tend to not have a crucifix. That is true. They for different reasons, but yes, none of
There
obviously that's not
on
true. They're
what
not
did you hear
Satanists.
the story of what happened on the Aran Island?
I've I've heard a lot, but which one?
The Ang-
Yes,
about the Anglican minister
recently?
during no during the famine. This
Oh
the
no.
famine during the famine. This Anglican minister came in with like boats of food,
Mhm.
right? And it's like if you convert, we'll give you the food. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll convert, yeah. And it's like, yeah, oh Jesus, can I get the bit of pork off it, please? Go Jesus, yep. He had a night wrote back to his archbishop that he had a 99% conversion rate. Then the famine stopped. He had a 0% retention rate. Everyone
Yeah.
went back to the Catholic Church.
Well, yeah, I mean, you offer people food. It is, yeah, and it is a very difficult time. Oh, Stieg is there. Sorry, here rather. He is saying hello. Hope you are doing splendidly. Everyone's saying hello, Circuit. Oh no, Stieg, I am not going to say this because this is an educational stream. Uh, okay, but he has a little pun there, but and of course, I always tell people when I bring up some of these stories, and I'm sure you're the same.
Yeah.
Listen, that was we know that people nowadays, okay, we're
Hmm.
not hating on each other, and but I think that these things need to be brought up because, especially here in America, a lot of people don't know the other side. Like, you know how the winners write the history. A lot of
Yes.
people don't know the horrendous, and I mean horrendous persecution that went on against the Catholics in not
Yeah.
just in Ireland, but in England. And so it's just something to
It was terrifying.
remember. It's that's something to remember and to understand, because some people are like, "Why did they fight over religion?" It's like they weren't so much fighting over religion, they were fighting over the fact that they would kill you, okay?
Yeah.
And and they wouldn't let you eat, they wouldn't let you go to school or church or yeah, or your own church, you had to go out in a field, but
Yeah.
the and the reasons behind that I know are very complicated, but that's
They had
why for
Karen
women.
feathering up for priests.
Yeah, yeah, hang on, yeah, the death penalty. So
Yeah.
so what we need to the reason why I like to talk about this is like this is why in America it's so important. I am such a proponent of separation of church and state. Our First Amendment. That's why you cannot mess with our First Amendment. You get the government involved in church, then that's problems,
Yes.
and that's why we had the First Amendment. And a lot of people were horrified around the world. They're like in America back in 1789. How can you not have a state church? And they're like, this is why we're not having a state church. Because
Yeah.
by logic, if you have a state church, then you have these problems, like these persecutions. And so that I like to remind people that we need to talk about these things so we do not repeat the mistakes of the past.
No. Like it's like why a lot of the German students go to Auschwitz and the other camps.
Mhm.
And I honestly like when you're there, even today, a lot of the Irish kids they get very like they don't know a lot of Irish history, but once they do, they get very, very patriotic very
Mhm.
fast.
Yeah.
Like,
And yeah, and I think that if they remembered that or if they were taught that more, I see a lot with the youth issues that are happening in Ireland. I think maybe they wouldn't have fallen prey to some of the deceptions.
yeah,
I'll be
like
gentle dancing around it
no,
here.
I know exactly what you mean, especially with what's going on at the moment, right?
It's definitely something to
Yeah,
watch. History doesn't repeat itself, but it does certainly rhyme on all of these things. Now, I want to just circle back because I did have
yeah,
a question about when we were talking about the wearing of the green. I remember when Queen Elizabeth, and I think it was the first time that a English
Mo-
monarch had visited, she showed up in green, and I remember
yes,
thinking, "That's interesting." Do you know what was the story behind that?
yeah. She didn't think anyone could see her.
Really,
That's
but she could.
literally that's
uh,
why she wore the color she wore, is because she literally believed that if she didn't, that no one would know who she was.
Okay, so but didn't she have some advisors that would say, "Well, could you maybe find a different color?" Because I think the symbolism was off a bit, like from her
Um,
point of view.
from her point of view, the symbolism may have been off, but like she liked that shade of green, and it was like, oh yeah, it's for Ireland, like the green of the flag. But if she don't wear a bright color, she won't stand out, and no one will know who she is. That was a belief of hers, which goes to show that even like people as like privileged and as powerful as the Queen of England, like has a lot of insecurities.
Hmm.
And when she was going around, did you know she did not know anything of what England done to Ireland?
Um, I don't know too much about the whole situation. It wouldn't surprise me because history's taught differently.
Yeah. Are they getting rid of the statues of Mary in private Catholic hospitals? No. They haven't, no, because if they did that, they tried to do that, but but they would actually like have a lot of like backlash against it. There's in the Whitfield right now, there is a statue of the Virgin Mary on the second floor, I believe. Then in the main hospital where I am, there's a small statue of her just outside of the chapel.
Okay, so maybe there's been some efforts too, but yeah, I think that that might be too much. Well, and the same thing with crucifixes, and I mean these
Yeah,
are all very interesting dynamics because what we started off with was the 1916 and the
yeah.
Civil War and all the blood spilt, the brother against brother. And, maybe these are things that Ireland can maybe unite behind nowadays. I don't know if that's possible because also
So
the demographics have changed.
what the let's say the Irish is full Irish, like as we call ourselves the Patriots, right?
Hmm.
They are uniting under the fact that you're Irish. Like if you're a Protestant, then you're part of the story of Ireland. But if you're Catholic, you're still part of the story of Ireland. And we like and they're like both sides are like backing up with each other. But what I'm noticing, and it is really weird to see, is how many people are supporting like really hardcore liberal things, communism, like hardcore liberalism. And it's
Hmm.
like, but why though?
They
You get me?
maybe they don't understand. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Well, we'll keep that in mind. But as far as keeping Ireland, because I've seen some things that have happened over there, and I'm like, do they know where this leads? But we're having this problem in America as well. We're
yeah,
having this problem all over the Western world. But well, before we start to, I want to wind down here, but to
yeah.
go back to specifically the topic we had, the Easter Rising up through to the Civil War. Is there anything else that you wanted, us to know and hear any stories or any thoughts perhaps that we can learn from those years?
Like every single person got together and they all fought for one thing, one idea, one like hope, one dream. They took on the greatest empire on the planet and came out the other side.
Mhm.
But when they achieved their dream, they burnt the country. They went isolationist. So the thing is, if you're going after something, be careful if you get it. Because
Mm.
what they did after Ireland meant mass immigration from Ireland. Like there was not enough food, not enough jobs. Ireland only started getting money in the 90s.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, like you must remember your childhood here compared to when you come over here now. It's two completely different countries. Like I remember like 95, 96, um, when we first started actually getting money. And like we got like the big TV. When we got like a big TV that Americans had for years, we were like absolutely fascinated by it. In 2004, we watched the Phantom of the Opera, and like the television shook. We were like, "Oh my god, this is the best thing ever!"
Mhm.
And it's like, but Ireland should honestly be a lot richer and a lot more powerful than it is. But it's been run by a bunch of ingrates. Just be careful of why you're going after and why you wish for. Because the thing is, once you get it, can you handle it? That's what I take from everything.
Wow, that's profound.
Yeah.
And go ahead and on my Twitter or something, shoot me a link or something to the movie you were telling me about. Like, I think you mentioned a few of them that you would recommend.
Well, the
'Cause I
wind
think
that shakes the barley.
the Wind That Shakes the Barrel. Okay, I can remember that. Yeah, and Shane Nolan, he also another Irishman. He is agreeing with this. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's interesting to me though, because when I do go back, some of it is so much the same. It's like nothing has changed, and then so different as well.
Yeah.
That wow, I just keep saying what you said about be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. You know, something maybe that's a
Yeah.
curse, or so I've heard that with be careful what you pray for. Yeah. Oh,
Like,
but
we walked down, like, you walked through Waterford, right?
mhm,
The, thanks, Shane.
yeah.
The, like, you have De La Salle, which is like from the 1700s. Then you've got like the ruins of the old churches going through. Then you've got the ruins of the gates, and you're like, wow. And then you look down, and there's a homeless man sitting in the corner,
Mm.
and it's like, mm. Then I've Winterfest. Have you ever been in for what? Yeah, you should come for Winterfest. But the thing is, it's like you go down to the Church of Ireland, right?
Mhm,
That area there is like where they do all the stalls, right?
mhm,
And you go there and you're like, yes, like this is fun and everything, but it's going to sound weird. All this commercialism, right? All these
mhm,
lights and everything, and if you turn your head just to the left, you can see our history staring at us right in the face. And I'm there and I'm looking and I'm like, is this place the right place for this market? When you've got
mm,
like 12th century ruins that like King Henry like demolished, right? With
mhm,
St. Plunket outside of it. You're like, is this the right place to have a Christmas fair?
yeah. I don't know, there's different thoughts because maybe, life moves on. I I don't
It
know.
it's hard to know because our government right now does not care about our history. Because
Mhm,
you must have noticed this, especially coming from America. We have a severe lack of statues.
mhm,
We've got no statues of our heroes. We got barely any. Hey, Rennie, good to see you.
yeah,
We've got no statues of our old kings, of our gods. Like, honestly, if I was doing, like, if I was minister for like some like Irish culture, something like that, I would erect in the middle of Cork city centre, right? A
mhm,
statue of Michael Collins and his and all the guys from Cork in Cork city centre. And at the other end, thank you, arts and culture, right? And at the other end, I would erect a statue looking down of him of Lug standing at one side with two of the Donnan. And then at the end of the street, I'd erect a statue of Christ. So you could
mm,
literally have the entire history of Ireland. I was talking to someone and I said I had an idea for a series of statues that I would do. Right? You start off at like Neolithic Ireland and you go along the street, okay? And
mhm,
as each statue goes along, it's the same face. right?
Hmm.
But it goes along, Neolithic, then you go into like the 800s, you go like 1500s, Templars, everything, going through the entirety of the Irish history. And it ends with the guy with his hand reaching out from the famine. Because at the end of the statue, at the end of that Irish history is you.
Oh
That's
man.
what, yeah. So like people will be like, wait, where's the next statue? I'm like, it's not next statue. All these people led up to you. That's what I'd do with there. That's the statues that I'd want.
Yeah. Well, wow, it didn't even occur to me till you said so. Where is Michael Collins in Cork?
There isn't
I
one.
mean, like a statue or something. Yeah, you're right. Why don't we have that? Now, there's Father Martin, I think, is now at St. Patrick's Street. I keep forgetting who he is. Uh, I should probably know who he is. but
But
but yeah,
that's
you're
the thing.
right.
That's the thing, though. Like you don't know who it is. You don't know who this person is. But yet, where's Michael Collins' statue?
Yeah, I was
Where's
gonna
the stat?
say.
Where's the statue of Eamon de Valera? Although, but like, where's the other statues? Like, there's no statues of like people from the 1800s, 1700s. Where's the statue of our kings? The
Yeah,
Irish kings.
I was about to say, where's Brian Boru for crying out loud?
England.
Oh, is it? Did I say
They
something
took
ignorant or
no. They literally
no?
took his statue to England.
Oh, well, it
Yeah,
was
he's
slightly ignorant.
no. You will know. I was actually looking up there a while ago. His descendants are the English royal family,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah,
one of his descendants who became a duke took the statue with him. But we should get a new one.
yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah, you're right. And I mean, you will see like St. Patrick and maybe St. Bridget and stuff, but that's usually in context of what you'll see in a church, but not
yeah,
out and about. You'll see, yeah, an Our Lady and stuff. But again, that's church. That's not like the
culture.
the culture
Like,
and the history. Yeah, I mean, it's in a religious context, but you're right. You just don't see those statues of those heroes. Shane Nolan says my dad is involved in the Collins Griffin Society. They do an annual thing for Collins where he died. Oh,
yeah, like they have a beautiful monument, but there's no statues like around the place.
yeah.
Like, you could have like a statue standing on one of the lakes of, if you wanted to, you could like make a giant statue of one of the ancient gods from the Tuatha Dé Danann and have it like a tourist attraction.
Yeah, I'm thinking, do you remember Ush? Well, I'm sure you do. Tirnanog and Usheen. That story used to
Yes.
freak me out because he like rapidly aged at the end because his stupid stirrup on his horse broke.
That's me. That's me whenever I talk to my 19-year-old cousin, just get older and older and older. Like,
Oh, I was gonna say,
Revan,
yeah, well, yeah, we talked a little bit about the
yeah,
Germans. Yeah, it's all kind of mixed together. Understood. Oh, Shane Nolan, I have a photo of Collins on my wall in his uniform. Yes, love that story. Yeah, but you know what I
yeah.
mean. What I'm saying is to freak us out. Now, I remember in Irish projector, that was a thing where in our Irish class, the teacher would have a projector and she would read us stuff and we'd have to repeat it. And one of the stories was Oisin and Tír na Dóg, and
Hmm.
when he bends down to pick up the rock, and we're like, oh my gosh, dude, don't do that. And then, yeah,
You're
for
just
those that
like,
don't
no,
know,
don't.
yeah, Tirnanog is like the land. How do you describe Tirnanog?
Tirnanod is the land of the undying.
Mhm.
It's a version of heaven. But once you go there, you can come back. Well, you can't come back. But then Oisin was allowed to come back, but his rule was you cannot set foot on Ireland. And he bent over to pick up a rock because he was stupid, and his stirrup snapped, and he fell off the horse and turned into an old man. I bet his last words were "fuck."
Yeah, and then died. Yeah, like the guy on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade at the end. Yeah, yeah, and of course, technically though, since he was on the horse anyways, would that be stepping? Sort of, I guess, since his foot didn't touch. But yeah, it's a great story. But so the moral of the
But
story is, if you're in Tirnanog, stay there.
Yeah,
Don't leave.
but don't forget about the swans.
Oh yes.
They
Tell
also
that.
turned old. So I forget the name of the king, but there was these kids who got cursed, and then they had to live for a couple of 100 years on 4 lakes, one lake in each of the provinces.
Hmm.
Then at the end of it, they met some dude who saved them, broke their curse. The children of Lear, thank you, broke the curse, and then they all turned old and died and went to heaven.
Yep, one of those two. Yeah, the Children of Lear. And I didn't remember the name either, but I remember that. You see, these are the stories that we learned as little kids. And of course, don't even get me started on the fairies. They freaked me out, especially the changelings and the
Yeah.
banshee.
Oh
Um,
God. There was a fox a few years ago screaming up the in the old farmland, right? And people were like, "Oh God, it's a banshee! It's a banshee!" I'm like, "No, it's a fox! It's a fox!"
yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what, my best friend, her mother to this day swears that she saw the banshee. And like with a straight face and everything. And she's not necessarily what one would call a superstitious person, but she said that it was in, gosh darn it, where's Bridget from? Kildare. That's where she grew up. And back in, if you don't know, in Ireland, it gets dark very early in the winter. And she was walking home from school, and she said that she saw an old woman, in white and like, combing her hair and just weeping. And she said she knew it was the banshee or something. And so I was like, "Well, what did you do?" And she said, "Well, I completely ignored it because you just ignore them. You don't want to mess with a fairy.
Yep.
You just let them be." And so she said, "I just walked past it," and I'm like, "Dang!" And then she said, "And then my uncle died like 2 days later," and I'm like, "Whoa!" And she'll tell you that with a straight face. And
If her family, like the banshees, are attached to a certain number of families.
mm, yeah. And I'm not saying I believe in fairies, but every time I go to Ireland, I completely believe. There's just something about the atmosphere there.
You don't
And
look in the trees.
oh gosh, don't even. And of course, fairy forts. Don't mess with a fairy fort.
Mm, don't mess with a fairy ring. People to this day will, like farmers, will cut around a fairy ring.
Hmm. Yep.
You're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. Well,
and
I'll tell you what.
go
I
ahead.
kind of like that though, because as a historian and anthropologist, it's actually preserved a lot of these ancient things because people wouldn't disturb them. So they, instead of them being torn down or burned down back in more superstitious times, they've been preserved.
There's a standing stone not far from my house,
Mhm,
and the farmer who owns it,
mhm.
every like Halloween leaves a lantern on top of it for his son.
Mm,
His son was killed on the street corner when his car flipped over in the 80s, and the standing stones are for spirits to rest against, and
mhm,
the light, like people put a light in the window for like a lost soul.
mhm.
So he put it on top of the standing stone so his son would have somewhere to rest.
Oh, yeah, there's got that. Well, I think I mentioned that in my fairies
Yeah.
video I did last year. There's many things like because fairies can steal you got to keep them happy or they'll steal the cream from your milk and your butter will be spoiled. So you leave out food for them, or if something like food falls from the table, you're supposed to leave it for the fairies. You
Mm-hmm.
but horseshoes and, drawing the sign of the cross in your bread, those were things that I heard,
And
you know.
Brussels sprouts.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Every
Now,
Christmas at Brussels sprouts, everyone cuts the cross into them.
yeah. Yep. So there you go. And uh, I think I was going to say most people know that it's not true, but it's the same way when I spill salt, I still throw salt over my shoulder just in case, or if you break a mirror, or I don't go under a ladder. Why tempt fate if you don't have
So,
to?
are you? Did you ever hear the story of the first Irish vampire?
No, I have not.
Most Irish anthropologists agree. that it's the case of twins. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I wish I knew the name of the place, but there's this tree where this vampire died. There was this man who used to drink blood, right? They killed him, they beheaded him, they stuck an iron through his chest, buried him upside down, planted a tree over him. 6 months later, a man who looked just like him but with long hair and a beard comes walking into the town. Claims to have a different name and everything, so they beheaded him, stuck an iron in his heart, and buried him upside down.
Oh, poor dude.
It's a clear case of twins.
Yeah, I guess, but it sucks to be him.
Yeah. It's like, I'll go and visit me brother. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
I have a hilarious story about what's the worst that could happen. Oh my god. Me and my friends
Okay.
still laugh over this. We're like, oh yeah, let's watch a movie. I've never seen Godzilla. Okay, I'll throw on Godzilla 2014. What's the worst that could happen? My grandmother died that night.
Oh. Okay, I shouldn't laugh, but that's an Irish.
But it's funny.
That's an Irish joke. Yeah, that's such an Irish joke. Oh gosh.
But that happened, so now we're never watching Godzilla 2014 again. Like, Jesus Christ.
He killed somebody. Never say what's the worst could happen. Okay.
No.
Roman of the Empire High. Yeah, we just talking about he killed his grandmother. Yeah, so
Wait, watching Godzilla.
Why watching Godzilla? That's talent.
My friend and panel member Bubba, he turned around and he said that he's going to kill me, right, when we meet up, because I told him, I said to him, he works in security, right, and I said, hey Bubba, and he went, what a lovely quiet evening you're having with absolutely nothing happening. He said, you bastard.
Oh my. Oh gee. Well, yeah. And see, I'm trying to think. Oh no, those are the things that used to just scare. Oh, I do know. This is a true story.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager, I was back in Ireland, rather, visiting a friend, and her boyfriend had a car. Was driving, and we were out way too late. He wasn't supposed to be out that late, and this was in Thurles. And he dropped us off, and then the next day he called, and apparently as he drove back home, his mother had long hair and a white nightgown, and she was so mad at him. She was waiting for him at the end of the drive, to bawl him out, and he nearly crashed the car because he thought he was seeing the banshee. And he was like, I nearly crashed the car. I swerved and nearly hit the hedge. And then she balls me out. I'm like, oh, thank God, it's just my mother. So I mean,
and then he looks up. Oh God, it's my mother.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, but it's just like any situation. All ghost stories. You don't believe him in the daytime. You're like, whatever. And then suddenly it's nighttime and you're all alone. And it's like, oh my gosh. You become a believer, especially out in the country. It's very creepy.
Oh, it is.
Elton, is it Dingle where they have... I think it might be Dingle or somewhere out in West Cork where, they even have light pollution rules or something. And it's one of the biggest places for stargazing in the world. A lot of people come there for it. And so you get out there and it's completely dark and you feel like you've time traveled back to the 1800s. You'll believe in anything.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to show you a place on a map. I was here in the night one time with my dad.
Oh gosh. And of course there's always a stupid story that goes along with everything. There was this kind of half-ruined castle, and they said if you go there at midnight and you look, someone had hanged himself and you'll see his shadow of him hanging, going back and forth. That one used to scare me. I was like, I don't want to see the hanging shadow, man.
Oh, so I was here, right? This is Man Falls.
Okay. Oh, there we are.
And I was here in the dark with my father.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. the thing is, this place gets covered in small animals, right? Like
Yeah.
rats and like different things like that, and foxes and rabbits. You can hear rustling all over the place, and this place is eerie enough as it is. Like this place
Uh-huh.
is fucking. It's beautiful, but you know,
Oh, I know what you mean.
terrifying. Like imagine this in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Like can we go back to civilization now, please? I tell
Yeah.
I think the dead are looking at me.
Yeah, and trust me, if someone came walking towards you, you'd want to walk
Yeah.
and turn around the other way. It's like I shouldn't be meeting anyone out here. I didn't ask for this.
Why are we out here? Am I
Exactly.
going to die?
Yeah,
And
and
like
that's
you
why
turn
I. Sorry, go ahead.
and like we turned around and my dad was like, right, we need to head back to the car, and I'm like, good.
Yeah, it's like thank you. Yeah, that's why I always tell people if you can if you go visit Ireland, get a car or get someone who knows how to drive a car over there because a lot of tragedies have happened with tourists who don't really know
Yes.
how to properly drive in Ireland and fatal crashes. One
Oh
of the
yeah.
more high profile one was Matthew Broderick. He was on the wrong
Hmm.
side of the road and killed someone. Uh,
Did you notice that when you come back from Dublin, like from an American flight to Ireland, there's all like, stay on this side of the aisle. It
mhm.
pushes you up the correct side of the aisle. Like you have to go up the right side of the aisle, go up the right side, and then it's like, we drive on the right side of the road in this country. Stay right, go on the right side of the. It's like Jesus Christ, I get it. Like,
Yeah. Well, and I think sometimes I'll even tell you which direction to look when you cross the street because it's just
hmm
very natural that you don't want to do that. So, I would say if you know a native Irish person with a car, get one of those. If you have the money, hire a driver. But like I'm not comfortable at all driving in Ireland at all, so I just
you
don't
mean
do it. So when
so
I'm
you're
there,
telling me that you don't drive down the 80-mile-an-hour country lanes?
No, I do not. No, I don't drive at all in Ireland. I will take the train, I will take the bus and walk when I can, but and or in the taxi when I can, but that is very limiting because things like what Potato Run was just showing, you really need to have your own car out there.
Yeah,
But I mean, I will do what I do when I go over there, and I usually see what I want. But if you really want to see Ireland, try to pull together with your friends for the money to hire a private driver. You can do that, or
get
find a
someone
native
who
person with a car.
yeah,
Have a friend.
um,
I don't know how you find friends, but find one
I I think you go on eBay.
for a friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Highest bid.
Or no, if you don't know
But,
someone from Ireland, yeah,
yeah, just, like, we're everywhere. Like, there's
yeah.
millions of us.
That's true. But no, I've seen people that it's worth the money to pull together and hire like a private kind of taxi tour thing. Vagabond tours
Yes.
is a good one that you can do. It might look expensive, but it's worth it, especially if you pull the money, because there's just parts of Ireland you just need to see and experience, and there's only one way to get there is by car. That's
Oh,
just all there is to
the
it.
Newgrange. Newgrange is a must-see for everyone
Oh
visiting here.
hell yes, 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 yes.
My grandfather took me to, like, the surrounding areas around
Hmm.
Tory Hill to where all the graves are, and it's like, these are the bones of your ancestors, and it's like, "Oh my god."
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
when you just stand there. And, like, he knew the family history. He was, like, at the time, the family historian, and then I kinda took over after him.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. Well, and if you don't know about Newgrange, it's an old tomb, burial area, mound thing, and every winter during the solstice for a few days, they had it that the way the sun will hit a certain window and it'll light it all up. It's like ingenious technology, astronomy, probably the aliens helped them with it. I don't know, but it's amazing. And you have to get a lottery ticket to hope to get in there, and then you got to pray that there's no clouds. but every year it'll do that, and that's something that's very beautiful. And you can even see around there, like you said, all the graves and all that, because you'll see the fairy forts. You'll see the mounds
Mhm.
that haven't even been excavated yet out from there.
They actually found a chamber in the back, right?
Hmm.
And the chamber had a skeleton on it and ash around it, and they believed that that was like the grave of like the first king, and a load of like ash deposited around it was like family members.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. And I think they found something nearby. I mean, they're always having new findings there as well. But I just got blown away. Shay Nolan saw it as a boy. You got lucky. Hell
Lucky
yes, you
man.
got lucky. How the hell did you manage that?
He was a
Who'd you
boy. He
kill
was
to do
small.
that?
Santa Claus.
Oh, there you go. He was inbred. Oh dear. Well, yeah, I'm sure they all
Well,
were. They're
well,
like
yeah. I mean,
Targaryens.
yeah. Like someone turned around and they did DNA test on like an ancient corpse, and they're like, "Oh yeah, why didn't he like this person? Apparently never had any kids, even though he had like 100 wives." And it
Mm.
turned out he was incredibly inbred. Did you hear about the genetic testing of like the last Habsburg king of Spain?
Oh, I have, and yes, it's quite disturbing.
Oh yeah, the fact that he is the most inbred person in history.
Mhm. Yeah,
Like,
and that's why he was so ugly.
yeah,
I
pretty
think.
much. Like his mother, they said his mother was also his niece and his aunt or something like that.
Mhm.
It got really weird.
Yeah, like they were Targaryen.
Yeah,
It's like, oh my gosh, it's a mess. Um, and well, that's why they were all hemophiliacs. Heck, they still have some of that gene in them because they were
well,
all
not the
related to each other.
hemophiliacs, but if you noticed, a lot of the recent monarchs in the UK have all died of cancer. You've got Queen Elizabeth, her dad, her granddad, his looks like Queen Victoria may have died of cancer. Like she certainly had diabetes. Like
Oh yeah,
and and now Charles has cancer.
that's true. Now that was a surprise. Now I could play devil's advocate. Though it could be genetics, but it also could just be people are living longer. And maybe I don't know, but they are. Yeah, they're all cousins and uncles and grandmothers,
Yeah,
former roommates.
exactly. Like so, someone turned around and I made this joke. I said, they're like, "How do you know that you're from like Alabama?" I said, "Your mother, your grandmother, your sister, your niece, your cousin twice removed, your aunt, and her second cousin are all the same person."
Yeah, it's the way it is.
Like,
It doesn't branch.
yeah, like there was one of the Spanish royals, they were having problems like mentally like special needs children and mentally ill like monarchs, and they said, "How are we going to solve this?" And they solved it in one way. They took a queen from another family that was not related to them by blood and
Mhm.
put her into the thing of the Spanish royals, and it fixed them up lickety split.
Oh,
And yeah, that's actually true. There is a Egyptian princess buried up in, I believe it's Kerry. Also, Saint Nicholas.
oh, well, there you are.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. The ancients knew a lot of astronomical data. Mhm. Oh yeah, absolutely,
yeah,
precisely. Yeah, yeah. That's cool stuff. Well, wow, this has been fun. I've got to hang up here. Hang up. We're on the telephone. Let's go back to the 1980s. We're calling. But yeah. So we've been going for nearly 2 hours, and yes, please,
yeah.
everyone, if you haven't watched from the beginning, where we do talk about the history, and I might change some of the thumbnail to reflect some of the culture things we've talked about because it's so much fun talking about it with a
Oh, it
native
is.
Irishman.
Yay!
Yeah, yeah. And well, you know what I'm saying. It's like
Ugh,
it it doesn't matter. And some idiot American politician saying, "My great grandfather was Irish, so I know all about Ireland." No, you don't. Okay, you don't. It's just,
no.
yeah, you got to live there. It's got to be in your blood. And
Like we were laughing at Joe Biden came over to Ireland and he turned around and he's like, "I'm glad to be home," and everyone's like, "This isn't Delaware."
yeah, maybe he was confused. Maybe he was confused. Us a
Probably
biscuit.
was.
Yeah, Rick is a biscuit. Yes. Well, thank you. Or Rick, it's for a biscuit. Riz kit. Oh my gosh, for a biscuit. Oh, that was awful. Oh, yeah, I know it was embarrassing. I
Yeah,
had almost secondhand embarrassment. And even just as a kid living my elementary years in Ireland, it stays in your blood and until you've lived a place for a long time. And I think there's just something. I mean, you talk about the lore, the culture. Well, I guess lore culture. It's all just mixed together, and it's just a very beautiful place. And I hope
with a
to get.
very sad history. And yeah, oh, the plane tickets have actually gone down.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, I've been paying attention. Look, because I have my eye actually on Irish harp classes that they have out in the
Ooh,
Gaeltacht up in Connacht, but, so I might fork out the money for that.
I
It just
I I'd
depends.
go to I'd go to a different area because you won't be able to understand the thing that they're saying when they're talking in English.
Let alone in Irish.
Yeah, like you'll walk in like with your little harp and they'll be like, you're like, okay, today's my first day of harp class, and they walk up and you're like, what are you
Oh, well,
saying?
okay, well, I'll take that into consideration if a man from Waterford can't understand me.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, to hell or to Connacht. Oh, ouch. Oh, dear. Oh,
No, it's
dear.
more like the hell with Connacht. Like Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Well, if I find an Irish harp class closer, I try to go
I'd look
to.
honestly, I'd look Galway because Galway is where all of our arts and hippies live.
Oh, well, yeah, but well, it depends on what kind of a hippie. Because I always try to do things when I go back to Ireland that'll work towards my
Yeah,
certification. You know, because every 5 years we have to recertify ourselves. And so I have to take so many hours, and it's like, well, gee, I guess I'll just do some harp because why not in Ireland or some of the history ones I used to do when I used to go to
yeah,
Cork. But we'll see. I honestly don't know what's supposed to be happening with my life because so many things are happening. It's like every time I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be able to get my buttocks back to Ireland, some huge tragedy happens. So it's like, okay, well, I'll just wait till the next time and hope another tragedy
yep,
doesn't happen. But knock on wood. But yeah, you're right. Now that Ireland's open again after the
yeah.
coof and all that. I usually fly into Dublin because it's cheaper for me to do that from where I am. Because I once, and I'll never do this again. I once flew straight. I flew into Cork, but I had to stop off in Manchester. Oh
Oh
hell no!
no.
I'd rather walk from Dublin to Cork than go through. And nothing against Manchester, but that airport was a nightmare because what happened was instead of just saying, okay, here you go, take your connecting flight and go through all the customs in Cork, I had to go through this huge custom thing in Manchester, and they like manually searched all my stuff. And this was back in what 2014, and so I had to go through all that. I thought I was going to miss my flinking plane, and then finally I made it, over to Cork, and that was nothing to go through. And I guess I understand why they do what they do there, but when I go to Dublin, it's just so much less of a fuss for me
If
to
you're
do that.
going to somewhere on the west coast, I would honestly go to Shannon and just get a train going up because if you go to Dublin, it's going to be a pain in the ass.
Well, that's true. Yes, if I am going to be going there, but it depends because sometimes it's more expensive, believe it or not, to fly into Shannon than it
That's
is
the
to go
weird
from.
thing. Yeah, because so I was looking at seeing would it be easier to go from uh Shannon to Boston because, like, I was
Mhm.
thinking mathematically, like, it's a shorter distance by a couple of
Mhm.
100 miles. No, and then to get there from where I am, I'd have to go up to Dublin, then I'd have to go down, I'd have to switch at Limerick Junction, go
Yeah.
all the way down to Shannon, and then get a taxi from like there all the way to the hotel, and then from the hotel to the airport. And I'm like, I'm just going to go to Dublin.
Yeah, it's easier. Yeah, because that's exactly why. I mean, expense wise. And so what I do is usually I will fly into Dublin and then go down, then take the train to Cork because there's a special bus. Not a special bus, but there's like a thing from the airport that goes to the train station, and then I
Yes,
come down into Cork. I found that that's easier, and it's easier than flying directly into Cork Airport, rather, because you have to stop off in uh,
they're
hell,
actually
Paris. Yeah,
in
somewhere else.
talks of opening a new line between Cork and Dublin
Oh,
on the trains. Irish
okay.
Rail, yeah, so that might help you even more.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, you mean with less stops or with without having to change trains?
Direct.
Direct,
Oh no,
okay.
you like it'll be like the Waterford to Dublin. Like there'll be stops, but
Mhm.
like it's like your butt goes on it, and you don't have to change trains.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, because usually when I have to change at Thurles, I think it is, and
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, you heard it here first. So just stay tuned, everyone. I don't know because I can't make plans. I can't even make plans barely for the next 3 weeks. But in any case, thank you so much, Potato Revan, for
always.
coming on. Always great to talk with you, especially to talk about Ireland. Now, what's going on with you, and where can we find you?
So this weekend, well, this Friday, I'm going to be talking over on my channel, Potato Revan. Please go subscribe to me. We'll be talking about the show Has Been Hotel. Then next week, we're going to be doing a thing just like a stream for having a laugh, poking fun at Ireland. For St. Patrick's Day. Following that, we're going to be talking about the day the Titanic got new friends, the oceanic submarine disaster.
Oh, well, hell, there we are. Good for you.
Yeah.
Um, so everyone, please subscribe to him, and feel free to put your link in the chat.
Sweet.
Yeah, or if one of the mods would do that as well. And you can find me here, Miss Smart Muses, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. And I'm very, very happy. I have blasted past 1,000. Actually, it's amazing. I
Yes,
was trying so
congratulations.
well, thank you. Yeah, and I got to give a shout out to everyone that's been retweeted me and helped me and all that. And I did give a special shout out to Ryan because Ryan Kennel, he was the one. He just shared it out in his live stream, and within seconds, I got over to 1,000. And he didn't have to do that, and very much appreciative of that. We've been buddies for a very, very long time, so it was very nice to
Yeah.
kind of get across. So, and I'm going to continue my thank yous. I just don't want to spam people and with mass tagging and all of that. So please stay tuned, and I do appreciate y'all. I just need a few more 100 watch hours so to get completely monetized, and then I'll quit bugging you all. So it's like
Don't.
I finally got there. Finally got there. Yeah.
Don't quit bugging us, because then you've got 2,000 to get to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no. I'll be done. I'll be done with that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been like 5 years. I mean, it's been slow, and I know, and it's been my own fault because life has happened, and when life happens, you gotta take a break. You gotta stop off. So I've stopped and
Exactly.
started, but yeah, that's
I
just
myself,
all there is to it.
I got sick with the coof in January, and I've been knocked for 6 the past month.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. Like that's why I'm coughing so much. It's still on my chest.
Oh,
But yeah,
that's
but thank you
oh
so much for having me.
yeah. Oh yeah, no problem at all. No, it's good, and we can just stay in touch and all that jazz. I'm just so sorry to hear that you've been sick, and because I got COVID. I mean, it just knocked me, or the coof, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah, I've also
Yeah,
got asthma, so
yeah.
Oh, that is so much fun.
Oh, that's just and that's the thing about the coof is that is where if you have things like asthma and secondary issues, that can be a problem. So,
Yeah,
in any case, thank you for being here, and thank you
always.
everyone that has been a part of this conversation. See, we got Rennie, we got Corey Cochran, Roman of the Empire. He's just old, okay, and Rizit for a biscuit. See, Shane Nolan. I want to hope I get everybody. If I don't, Holocron Library Fox, all of you, if I miss you, it's not intentional. It's just the chat jumps, etc. So have a great day, everyone. Have a great day, and be certain to stay away from the fairies. They'll mess you up.